So good morning and welcome everyone to Deconstructing the Construct episode 17, because there was none last week due to, where were we? Camping. So in the meantime, since we last met, we've had this very strange Eclipse episode. And I'm hoping that a lot of you will share your experiences of this. It's been very, very mixed in terms of people's personal experiences. And obviously, if you've done any, and I haven't done much, but enough to see that the anomalies have been, so many anomalies have been captured on film, photographs and video. There is nothing that I can see out there that explains what was seen, even, let alone what was experienced. Many have been sick as a result of the eclipse, post-eclipse. For some, it started in the hours leading up to the eclipse. Headaches, diarrhea, gastro issues, nausea, aches and pains, out of the blue. Those who were near water at the time, which apparently the authorities warned all of you guys in the States away from, which I find interesting, seem to have fared better, as if the water somehow diluted what was going on. But in terms of what was going on, many also experienced, let's go back to how this sort of started to be felt. There was a sense of bliss for some, for many, in fact, as the eclipse really started to reach its climax. There was a sense of bliss, which was then immediately kind of followed by these feelings of being unwell. There's a video by a guy called Chris Geo, who many of you probably know. He and his girlfriend, I guess it is, experienced the eclipse on ayahuasca. And it's an interesting video to watch because, you can't dismiss what they experienced just because they were on ayahuasca, because so many people who were not on anything experienced the same thing. I think for them it was just more visual because of the ayahuasca. Their intuition was telling them prior to the eclipse to stand outside of it, to be an observer. And they too experienced this sense of bliss, and then sort of got the internal nudge, remember, stay outside, to just be the observer. And once they did so, they saw something very, very different, which was, in their description, an AI kind of, I think it was like a tentacled octopusy thing, right? That was sending out a code. There are others, friends of mine who were not on anything at the time, could visually see and photograph code. There's a photograph of like a sigil almost in the sun. From my perspective, what initially started out as just a camping trip turned out to, we were going to go around this time anyway, but because of a group coming together in the States, we decided to do it at the same time as them, which was over the period of the eclipse. We were drawn to a place called Mount Warning, which is a very, very powerful, energetically powerful spot. It's an old volcano here in New South Wales, northern New South Wales. it felt very much like we were drawn to that spot as a place of protection during this period. And we really were in a kind of bubble there. Although it did also feel like we were heavily monitored on all fronts. We were camped, not intentionally, that's just where we were placed, in the only spot on the campsite that is right next to the river or the creek. Keep calling it a river, but it's not, it's a creek. And for me, the eclipse happened in our time at around 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning. And I went to bed at 1 and had a very interesting experience of, and it got to the point where I wasn't even sure anymore if I was awake or asleep, if my eyes were open or closed, because I was opening and closing them all the time during this experience, as far as I knew. And I was seeing 2 completely different vistas. I was looking through the walls of my tent and seeing outside. And then a portal kind of opened up and I was seeing through that into a different vista again. There was a sense of really not being present in that, you know, that sweet spot between awake and asleep. I was like that all day the following day. And seemed to be in constant kind of receive mode, insight mode, download mode, whatever you want to call it. But in that experience in the tent at around 1 o'clock, it was like the closest I'd felt, and certainly the most vividly I'd seen, another reality. And there were many at that campsite that night who felt that way. That they felt the closest to something else than they'd ever had before. It was like, it was right there. The veil between us and it was so thin. So my question is, and I want you guys to sort of have a think about the experiences that you've had. My question is, was this a genuine opportunity, a genuine, I don't know, portal opening or something genuine and organic, and that the bliss feeling was associated with that then got co-opted, maybe a virus rode in on it or something? Or was it, I think this is Chris Geo's position, and possibly others, that the whole thing from go to woe was a manufactured, constructed event by this, you know, AI to pump in, upgrade, new programming. Or have you had any other completely different thoughts on it? I'd love you to put your hands up if you want to come out and share your experience or your theory at this point on what it was we just experienced. Because to say it was, I mean, it's been very intense, it's been very real. Something definitely happened. The question is what? So Karen, you've got your hand up, love, and you're unmuted.
Oh, I am unmuted. Okay. Well, I don't know what you want me to share, but my experience was that we were at the lake, and it got really weird. The energies changed. Everything got still. The birds stopped. It was a dog beach. The dog stopped. The kids stopped. Everything stopped. It was very surreal. It was very thick energy. We had been in the water. Coming up on land, you couldn't tell. Couldn't get our sea legs, even on the land. Wobbly, just like we were on a boat and we were having some rough seas. That's what we all felt like. Then we all kind of started having aches and pains and ailments and this and that all going on. I got back to where I'm at, and I've been, dealing with massive pain. And I had a couple days before, realized that it was the gold that needed to be put in the water, because they were going to use the water as the circulatory system of the construct to insert code, block code, do whatever. And I think it was to block the gold code that we were trying to put in the water, reverse it, do whatever. Because we did that, we got hit a little bit with it physically. At the same time, I know part of it is an actual physical transformation going on that was supposed to happen that they were trying to block in us. I don't know what else to share, but that's what's been going on with me so far.
So you're feeling like this was a genuine opportunity for us to sort of upgrade ourselves, and yet it got...
Well, I think that yes, it was they were trying to stop a natural organic happening by using the water. We were there to block that, stop that, revert, whatever. That what was supposed to happen is happening. I really believe it is happening. They were not able to stop it. And I really think it's going to start, it's already for me playing out with people around me, being very confused, not knowing what day it is. I mean, these are people that are generally on the ball, not awake, but definitely on the ball. But it's like they don't know where they're at, what day it is, or anything like that, So I think everybody's kind of discombobulated at this point. There's exhaustion going on for people, and some, physical symptoms for those even that are not awake, sleeping for 12, 13 hours when that's not normal for them. My mom, other family members, that kind of thing. So a lot of upper respiratory mucus type shit. Bone pain for some of us. Yeah, everything. When I got back here, the whole energy in this place was definitely changed. It's some place I always wanted to get away from. But when I came back here, it felt like, okay, I was back in charge now.
There is also a sense that a lot of this physical stuff is a rejection of what was being pumped out.
Yes, absolutely. I think that it's the actual fight in our physiology going, we're trying to pump out the true organic DNA code manifestation, whatever. It's coming in trying to stop it. And that little fight that's going on we're physically pushing it back out, within our physical bodies. I don't know if everybody was hit that was deliberately in the water and trying to reverse the codes or put in the gold or whatever. But I can feel it in my body that I'm pushing against this reverse code with my code and pushing it out of my field. First my body and then my field. And then I don't know if I'll let Jenny share it about what happened early this morning with regard to the water and the rose petals. Did she share that with you, Lisa?
No, not yet. I guess I'll hear it for the first time too.
Do you want me to share, or do you want to wait?
She's saying go for it.
Okay. Well, I was up all night because of the physical stuff, pain level 15 off the charts. It's like blow my head off for, figure this out. And so while we were working, one of the things that happened was Jenny, Peter, Curtis saw a bunch of rose petals had been dropped into the water, and then the rocks were churning up the water. And I immediately knew, because I do oils, you know, rose is the highest frequency oil at 360 megahertz. The next closest is sacred frankincense at 198. The rocks were churning the petals and breaking the oil to be released into the water. With that high frequency, it was able to really get a big push back against the anti-gold code that had been inserted into the water to stop this from all happening.
Okay,
so there's that, and there's the rose gold.
Yeah, rose gold. Yeah, and you heated it as well. Mm. Fascinating. Thank you. There's a lot of people who are agreeing with you about how they felt and what they're going through. Hi. Oh, you can't hear? Can anyone else hear me? Yep. Oh, it was just at your end, Karen. You can't unmute. Oh, okay.
Thank you. Yeah. All of a sudden, it just throws up this block. Host won't do this. Host won't do this. Host won't do this. And I'm like, this has never happened before.
No.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I forgot. After the rose and the churning and all that, then the dragon with dragon fire heated up the water. Heated up the water, because as the water heats up, the vibration also increases. Information transfers more quickly, and so yeah, I forgot about that piece as well.
This is our new family.
Oh, so cute.
Oh, remember?
Yes.
I got to pick him up because he's trying to eat all the cords. Yes, hello. Yes, hello. You use the word anti-gold. I mean, so for the few weeks leading up to this eclipse, we've been working a lot with gold and really feeling the need to. I'm not muting you, so why is it doing that?
Yeah, the anti-gold. I realized a few days before I went to the gathering that the atomic symbol for gold is AU. That's the first two letters of my last name. And the pain that I was feeling is in my bones. I have a bodywork person I work with. It wasn't muscular. It wasn't nervous. It was bone, deep bone pain. And while he was working on me, I was meditating, and the knowledge I got was that the bone marrow produces the red blood cells, which is where the gold is. And so there is physical transformation going on as your physical body is trying to reproduce the gold in your blood, and at the same time, that's why they wanted the anti-gold codes to put into the water to stop this process. And what I and others were doing in the water was inserting the gold codes from our beings into the water, coming up against their anti-gold codes.
It really does feel like the whole thing's been a bit of a clusterfuck, to be honest with you. Between something, I don't know what other word to use. I'm going to say organic, but you know what I mean. That has been co-opted again, and then there's been our intent, and it's just all a huge mess in a way. I don't know. But for those of you, I'm seeing a couple of messages here about being focused on the goal without it, just intuitively during the eclipse, and have felt fine. Yes, his name is Shadow. Okay, gotcha.
I've come to the tentative conclusion that not all of us were hit with this, that it's been targeted in some respects. So just so people know that, don't be freaking out.
Okay. Okay, Gina, you're unmuted, love.
Hello.
Good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is.
Yes. What is time anyway? So I agree with an awful lot of what Karen said. My experience and perception since then has been that there was something very code-like, or it did feel very much like something was being dropped, and at first it felt very good, and then it felt very like bad and angry feeling, because it was that no, I'm not going there feeling.
Okay, so question then. This
Mm-hmm.
initial bliss that was felt,
Mm-hmm.
was it a false sense of bliss to draw you in order to set you up to receive these codes? Or was it a genuine bliss that was then overridden and co-opted? That's my question.
You know, it felt to me more like it was false, because it was so, like, all of a sudden immediate, only in one part of my brain, kind of. But then it encompassed everything, and then it dropped immediately when I got the other feeling. And so it was confusing, to say the least. So yeah, it could have been to draw in, or it could have just been that they turned on whatever.
To me, it reminded me of the New Age bliss bullshit. Bliss. That's what it reminded me of, because I've sensed that energy before, and I'm immediately I'm like, no, not having anything of it.
Right.
And I felt that trying to come in, and was aware of trying to block that, getting dizzy.
So since then, what I've become very, very aware of is that we seem to be in a space where not only are we manifesting immediately, but the more joy and bliss we're in, the more magic that happens. I've shown you the photo of me where I disappeared before Char's eyes as she was taking a picture of me cooking.
Do you mind if I share that?
Not at all. Go right ahead.
Where do I have it? Here we go. You guys,
so I was cooking. We were having a barbecue, and Sandy was with Char and I, and we were all doing different things, and the kids were all there. I mean, everyone was around, and I was moving quickly, but I was so digging and enjoying what I was doing, and I was just in a really good headspace. And right as I looked up, I saw Char had her Kindle pointed at me. And at first I thought she was looking at something, then I realized she's taken my damn picture. And I went into that kind of, oh, I don't want to be seen right now, or can't she just wait? And as she was going to snap the picture, I literally disappeared. And I know exactly where I was at and what I was thinking, and that was exactly that. As soon as she snapped the photo.
According to Shah, you were standing at the sink. You weren't moving.
Right, I wasn't moving.
You looked up. You turned to her. So that the clear image of you, which is only the top half of you,
right,
is where you were. The one behind
right,
you is not where you were.
right,
There's only, but
exactly,
you've only got the top half where you were.
right. And the second, neither of them, I mean, they're different, both blurry in different areas. It's just weird all the way around. But the weirdest thing was that it wasn't like she took the picture and afterwards went, oh, whoa. But as she's snapping the picture, she went, whoa. And Sandy and I looked at her and were like, what? And she showed it to me, and I sunk down to the floor because my knees went weak, and I just flipped out. So,
Shah said she saw it. She saw it happening on the tablet, and then looked up and saw it with her own eyes.
right, and the so if that's my dragon cloaking, perhaps. Let's just say it is. Yes, that's what it is. It's my dragon cloaking. Then gifts are coming online. But that's just a small example of the things that have been happening around here. There have been situations with different situations with people where there were a result had to happen, and if it was forced, it would have been nasty. And we were trying to avoid that within a family situation here at Shars, and she just asked for help getting the very best outcome that would make it everyone a winner and everyone happy, and that's what happened. And that was the same day, by the way, when the picture was taken, that we got that information that everything had worked out so wonderfully, which took an enormous amount of pressure off Char in particular, which was awesome. And then there've been other situations with people we care about where things could have gotten really out of hand and they didn't. So we're trying to identify these different things that are happening immediately, because it's like, and I feel personally like something in my body has been activated, and it started probably a year ago, but within the last month, last 6 weeks, it's gotten progressively faster and bigger to the point where each and every day, yes, I feel kind of half here and half spaced out, like I'm somewhere else, but I almost get the feeling that we need to learn how to master that feeling, because that's what it's going to be. That's what we're going towards, that we're being prepared for that. That's really what I believe, that we are being prepared in our bodies physically to be able to handle the change. And meanwhile, we're bringing the change in at the same time as we're being changed. That's where I'm at with it, because there have been so many instances where without even, especially without trying and pushing, the best result has dropped into, my hands out of the air, and in all areas of my life. And I'm digging it. Now, physically, I feel like shit today. My back is killing me. It has been for 3 days. But I have this weird kind of awesome kind of energy to keep going anyway. And I know I'm going to sleep like a rock tonight. So
we've been saying for some time that it feels like we are slowly but surely regaining control, or the feedback loop system between us and the construct is getting clearer and clearer. The obstructions
Yes.
are being removed, all of that. Yeah, the manifestation stuff is becoming more instant, is becoming easier, is becoming, but you have to be in a certain state to get the what to, hang on, I shouldn't say that.
I have a continual dialogue now with my higher self, I guess. A continual dialogue. Instead of dropping in and being a smart ass and telling me, oh, you blew that, or you should have done it that way, or watch out. It's a continual thing now. It's like I'm connected. I feel like a part of my brain has been activated. The neurons weren't working properly for a long, long time. They weren't connecting. I feel like they're connected now, or they are connecting. I'm clear in my thought. I'm able to process. You know how long I went through that. I have no words. I literally couldn't get it out from my head to my mouth. It would not come out.
Yeah.
And it's getting much easier to dialogue. So something is happening with me, and I see it happening with everyone around me, including the kids here, who are, things are changing subtly in the most marvelous ways, and it's you know, do see people when we do go out that are walking into walls and that dazed look on their face, but I see also other people with a smile on their face and stepping high, you know, with a howdy hello, you know. So you get both, but they're extremes. So I don't know if it's a state of mind or if it's just getting in the groove with not seeing this dreamy kind of thing as an enemy or a bad thing, but more as a different thing.
There's an element here of, honestly, I think it feels like we are seeing the evidence of all the things that we hypothesized over the last few months, which is that we're in a practice space to practice this instant manifestation, the instant feedback loop system, all of that. I'm just going to mute you, Jenny, because there's a lot of noise on your line.
No problem.
And that's the good and the bad, the positive and the negative, the stuff that we want and the stuff that we fear. If you want to live in a world, or if you think you live in a world, or if you fear of living in a world that's full of demons and nasties and everything's out to get you, then that's coming at you thick and fast. If you believe you live in a world and want to live in a world where, you know, everyone comes from and lives in their hearts and it's full of beautiful people, then you're getting that as well. And this is, it also is demonstrating that the split between heart and head that we've been talking about, and the live as if, you know, live as if you are in the world you want to be in, if it's as if it's already here. And there is, I mean, in my personal experience over the last several weeks, there has been a lot of shit coming at me. But it's coming from other people. It's not coming from, for the most part anyway, anything that we would call the sort of interdimensional or intergalactic or Draco or, you know, whatever. It's just people projecting their shit. And in terms of the energetic work, I mean, for me, I feel like energetic work that we do is, what we're really doing is working at the code level. And we have visuals to help us do that. But what we're really doing is programming and coding and recoding. And we're seeing the results of that work quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker as well. And there was the day after the eclipse, like I said, it was like 2 or 3 in the morning, So that day, I was in that space where I didn't feel like I was quite awake or couldn't quite go to sleep either. And the message I kept getting was, do you see? Do you see? Can you see it now? Can you see it now? And it was the illusion of it all, that this is all just a very, very thin veil right now. And it was like looking at one of those 3D pictures. You know, you can look at it for ages and all you see is the image in front of you. And then suddenly there's a tweak to your eyesight. You cross your eyes a little bit and then a whole other picture emerges. And the feeling was that, and it was visceral, it was in my body, that it's so close. It's just a tweak to the way I'm perceiving, and I'm going to see something completely different. It's that close. And that really kicked in that day. Gina, where'd you go? I'll unmute you again. Oh, where'd you go? Oh. Okay, you're unmuted again, Gina.
Okay. That what you were saying about how close it is, and that what we're choosing to operate in or see, it's like we have a broader choice now. We can choose from a bigger selection, and we can get much closer to what it really is and really looks like than we've ever been able to before. But we have to choose still to see that. I do believe maybe they can't force it on us. Maybe there's something about opening up all at once that genetically in the bodies that we're in, we couldn't handle it all at once. I don't know. I don't know what we could speculate forever on that, but it is as if we have a broader choice. So I can only speak to my experience, and in my experience, it is always coming from that place of love, and that feedback loop with other people is always positive. As positive as I can have it be, then what's coming out of it, and like I said, in every area of my life, is including what I see every day. I mean, it wasn't even 6 weeks ago that when I went out, I was around the lower Tenderloin of San Francisco near South of Market, and it was dismal and dark, and the people were, and I was trying to be a shining light in that darkness, but I haven't experienced anything like that since I made the choice to change everything, and so it is, and so be it. It's changed, and I know it's not that simple, but sometimes it is that simple, because for me, it was making the choice. As soon as I decided and let go of all the what ifs, but I was lifted up and just flew. So that's enough of that.
It's kind of funny you say that, because I was reminded of, oh God, I think it was even on a One People show towards the end there, yesterday, stuff that I got in the shower, as you do, that we're talking about being the observer, you know, and how there's a lot of talk in the New Age about being the observer. And I felt like what we're getting pumped with right now is a lot of distractions in order to not do that too. But
Right.
Be the observer. For me, it's like be the observer while all the data is coming in. And then once you feel like it does form a strong enough picture, got to make a choice. Got to make a stand. And we are being so discombobulated into, thrown so many words. But it's only through our clear intent and a clear stand on what we will and will not put up with, what we will and will not experience, what we do and do not want, what we consent to and what we don't. It's in that grey area that there's so much room for them to play.
Right.
So constantly staying in observer mode, or constantly staying neutral, or constantly, I don't know, it feels like it's choice point time, and it has for some time.
It's just that whole thing is just magnifying every day, and in everything around me, everything that I'm seeing, experiencing, watching, observing, and it's exhilarating in that seeing this confirmation so immediately and feeling it almost as it's happening, and sometimes as it's happening, it just gives you a sense of what we and who we are, who we really are, and what we're capable of, just in every moment, not just when we work into a certain way of a state or way of thinking or being, or it's just who we are. Even when you're farting and scratching your butt, you're still that amazing being that's just shining light. So what else do you need, really?
Okay. Anybody else who wants to share their Eclipse experience, pre or post even, please put your hand up. If you're not sure how to do that, just click on the participants and you'll have an opportunity under that to put your hand up. And we've got Earl. Earl, you're unmuted.
Hey, Lisa.
Morning.
Yeah, so I didn't actually look at the eclipse, but I was feeling symptoms from intestinal issues to back pain.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a weird event because of what they were, well, the other people were seeing, and I agree. No one saw the moon, like, going, like, towards the, going towards the sun. No.
No.
I don't feel it. It didn't feel like the moon to me. It just, the size and that just, didn't look right to me.
There are many ancient cosmologies that talk about dark objects in the sky. Non-luminous objects or dark objects.
Right.
That it may well have been one of these objects that went in front of the sun. And whether it was even the real sun or the artificial sun that it went in front of.
And they were like saying, oh, this hasn't happened since 1979. I'm like, no, I believe by my reality, there was one in the 80s. Like, I remember sitting there at school and they had it on television. I remember there were people in this football stadium watching it. It was somewhere in the U.S. Like, it was on the Eastern. The eastern part of, not near where I live, but in the whole zone area, the east part of the U.S. and Canada.
Yeah.
Like, I could see it go dark.
Well, the other thing is that immediately after the so-called eclipse, there was a new moon. So how does that work?
Yeah, that's good, right, either. So anyway, also, I was going to sleep the night before last, so like Saturday night. Saturday night, I was lying down. I got a rushing feeling, and I was like transported to this place. At first, I thought it was Parliament in Canada, but it wasn't. It was some other location. I didn't know where I was, but I was walking around. I'm awake still, mind you. So I'm walking around. I was able to walk without crutches or using my wheelchair. So that was a bonus. So as I'm doing this, I'm seeing lights. Like they were like Christmas lights, kind of, but not Christmas lights. They're like the old ones, but they didn't have their color, like the paint, where the bulbs weren't painted like color. It was just the bulbs themselves. But and I go into this area, it's kind of Malaysian feel, and all these people are there. And I see, who do I see? Justin Trudeau. And I'm like 4 feet away from him. And it's the elite. The elites are all there. They're there. And they're just, what they're discussing is that they know it's the end. They've run out all their options. They tried their false flags list of weight, and they seem to have all backfired. You know, they wanted their world war, but they can't seem to start their world war because they're in another war right now.
And I don't believe that either.
Right. So then they asked me to speak. And there are other enlightened people there, I feel, besides myself. So I'm speaking in this Arabic type language. Which, okay. But I'm also understanding what I'm saying and what they're all speaking this language. And I'm like, guys, you're done. You can't do it. Now is the time to make the change. And he said to me, yes, we know that. We are working on doing it. We're working on moving away from what we've been doing to bringing everything out. And I said, the financial? They go, yes, the financial as well.
Well, interesting you bring that part up because
it's just going to take a little bit more time, they say.
Yeah, they're going to drag this one out as long as possible.
Of course they are.
So, for those who are following that side of things, Heather's next court hearing is tomorrow, Tuesday in the US. And it's a jurisdiction hearing to see whether the court can even hear this case.
Oh, that's the rain in the background. I have my window open. We've been having the window open all freaking weekend.
And again, this feels like a parallel energetic. There's keys here, but I do feel that they're going to drag this out as long as possible. But I'm working on the energetic with some of the things that we've been doing. There's a lot who are revealing themselves, who are doing some nasty shit, but who are revealing themselves as having no choice. And when presented with choices, are making a better choice. And I think that's playing out in the 3D as well. More and more people who have felt put into a corner, or they've been blackmailed, or they've been coerced, or they've been threatened, or all of that, are now starting to see choices, and they're being able to make a better one. That's just a feeling at this point. We're on that, again, it's like the crest of a wave, the verge of a huge change. Whatever took place with this eclipse over the last week or so, it's changed everything. And at the moment, it's completely chaotic. Because there's so much going on. Like Karen was saying, it feels like we are, and Gina, we are changing and activating from within. While at the same time, there's all this fuckery going on in order to prevent that. While we are merging more and more with the new codes, the new reality, whatever, the veil between the two is getting thinner and thinner. People are seeing with their physical eyes things that they've never seen before. Okay, sorry, Earl, you got one more thing. Hang on, I'll find you and unmute you. There you go.
One more thing.
Yes.
So I also was having back pain over Saturday night as well. But yesterday, as I'm going through my home, my house, it looks the same, but yet it's different. Like, it looks more brighter, more like, it's just, I don't know, it just feels different, but everything's there. Everything seems to be in its place. Nothing seems to be out of order. It's just that the house itself feels different, like the energy of the place, of the building structure itself feels different. Like someone grabbed me out of my house, built me the exact same house with all the same exact materials, but it feels like new and different. So either I'm halfway in, or I got the halfway in, halfway out kind of feeling. That's how I'm feeling, like I'm moving into this. I like what you did with your hair, Rita. I saw that. I'm like, wow. Anyway,
I wonder.
I'll mute myself. I'll mute myself now. But yeah, the changes are coming in a really awesome way. Like they tried, I believe, yes, they did try co-opting the whole Eclipse thing. But I think the Eclipse was a co-op thing to begin with, but they some messed up on that too, and yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna mute now and let you say what you have to say.
Thanks, darling. Just an interesting observation about the hair thing. Because it was an inspired moment by Curtis. Because he'd already cut my hair and then just went, okay, this side's got to go. But I wonder what it does represent in that way. Are we half in and half out? Because it kind of feels that way. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, JJ, you might.
Yes. Two things. It strikes me your hair is kind of like you've been saying you've been in two camps for quite some time, in and out, in and out. Well, this is sort of like a physical manifestation of moving there, shall we say?
Yeah, never occurred to
Who
me.
knows how it'll turn out, but
I may end up bald.
that's the thing about hair is it grows back. You know what I'm saying? No matter what you do to it, give it just a month or so, and it's completely different. So there's always an out that way. Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Second thing is you're talking about the Team Dark seeing additional choices. I don't think many people have I won't call it a thorough, but a really broad view of what comprises Team Dark. I mean, it's millions of people.
Yeah.
I mean, the size of the population that is under control of Team Dark is staggering. And it's global. It's not just United States, not just here, not just there. It's every frickin' where. And it's had a long time to develop, a long time to put itself in place, a long time to tweak its means and methods and ways of control and all that sort of stuff. It's a highly oiled machine. The thing is, the vast majority of the cogs in that machine, they want out. They do not want to continue, but they've got no choice because their families are threatened. They're threatened. When you're in for life, kind of a deal. And there's things you can do, but there's consequences to those things. And now they're starting to see, as you say, more choices with fewer consequences or lesser consequences. Because I won't say they all, but the vast majority of them see the writing on the wall. They really do. It's the guys at the top that are intransigent, let's put it that way. And they can't let go. It's just not in them. But the thing is, they're losing their lieutenants. They're losing their power to be able to command and control. It isn't gone, but it's on the wane. And so that gives the underlings more leeway, more latitude. But it takes a while for that knowledge or that understanding of that change in their normal routine to actually filter down to them. So it's fucked. But it is what it is. And the thing is, the vast majority of them, if they could drop out in a second, they'd be gone. The guts, the actual mechanism would be gone. Now the enforcement angles and all of the crappy the rule by force element. In other words, the guys with the guns, the guys who kill people, all of that stuff, they're gone. I mean, they're so far into it that there is no out for them. But the vast majority of the folks that just want to live, they'll jump in a heartbeat, but there's no place to jump to yet. And there's consequences even if they vocalize it to a certain extent. So they've got to be really careful. I don't want to say I have sympathy for them, because in a sense I do, but at the same time, they are there because that's where they're supposed to be, and that's their choice or challenge or however you want to look at it, to get out from under that. And the majority of them, I think, will, but it's the ones at the tops that are not the problem. They're the stick in the mud. They're the ones that are slowing the whole thing down.
We're also seeing a lot more in the sense of, we talked about this on and off all year, but for me, the way that the construct was originally created was it was whole, and part of the invasion, virus, whatever, corruption, splintered it, separated it into what we perceive of as these dimensions. And us in the process cut us off and separated aspects of us into these dimensions. I believe that there is an aspect of me that goes right through these dimensions all the way out of the construct. And to me, it's like we're in a process right now of the whole thing coming back together. So there will not be any more 3, 4, 5, whatever. It'll be more complete.
A realignment.
Yeah. And what we're seeing when we do this energetic work is I'm seeing things now that you would call that kind of lives in the 4 or the 5 or the 6 that I couldn't see before, because the veils between them all are thinning or collapsing. And those aspects are seeing choices even that they didn't see before. I know not everybody follows the Lulu stuff, but when Lulu first came in, she said that we were the first to realise that we live in a construct. So even these 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th dimensional beings who think they're all that and more are starting to realise that there's something above them, that there's more to it, and that's what I'm finding too. So everyone's discovering at the moment that there's so much more and that they have choices that they didn't think they had before. Does that make sense?
Perfectly.
That's my experience anyway. We have John calling in on his phone too. Unmute. You're unmuted, John.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hello, how are you?
We're good. We're good. You?
Good. Well, I had something that had happened to me during the eclipse that I had forgotten to share on the call, and it was really kind of cool. After it was all over, there might have been like a little, sliver still kind of bit out of the sun. But I noticed a dove had landed in my backyard on the power line. So I walked up towards it, and the dove was in the shadow of the sun, so it itself was completely eclipsed. It was just black. And I got real close to it, and it just kind of stood there, and it was beautiful. And then it flew over me, and when it finally passed, I could see that the dove itself was gold. And I was just like, oh, and it got me so emotional, and I just started to cry a little bit. And then all of these red cardinals swooped in. And all I could think of was like, red is for the descent, like that kept echoing through my head. So I was like, okay, well, I guess it's buckle up time. I guess that's what that means. And that wouldn't be wrong. But yeah, so that was just a cool little thing that I saw in that moment. But last night I stumbled upon this video, and it was like a compilation of QHHT sessions that a woman had gone through. And I don't know if it was the same one that someone had mentioned a little while ago on LMH, where the woman was talking about home. But her name is Allison Coe, and it was just her talking about her clients. It wasn't an actual recorded session. But she mentioned home. She had a bunch of clients that were talking about that, and that there was going to be an event that happened. She was marking it around like January time, that basically that event would trigger some sort of a shift where people would actually go home, I guess. And she said that whenever people would communicate with people that were already at home, they said that leading up to it, everyone started dreaming and visualizing home, and it just became more and more real until people just woke up in the dream one day. And there was not really any kind of like separation. It was just, you went to bed, you were dreaming, and then boom, you were home. And it was permanent from then on.
I actually had that dream the other night.
Oh, really? Okay.
I dreamt I woke up at home. And I know I wasn't waking up at home, but I dreamt that I woke up at home. And that I was in a different bed, and I opened my eyes, and I'm like, where the hell am I? What's going on? And there was no one around. And I was given time to kind of acclimatize with and then someone walked in that I recognized, and it was like, is this real? Am I dreaming? This is a dream. And it's like, no, you're home. And then I could feel it in my body. It was so real that the cognitive dissonance that went through my body, and the fear then that kicked in, that's like, oh, could it be real? Can I believe in it? Can I? And then, well, how long is it going to last? Am I going to get pulled back? I had this whole conversation, with myself and with this other person about, can I really trust this? Can I relax into this? Can I just go with it? It was very, very real. And then I woke up. I've got, speaking of your gold dove, where? No, you didn't.
Yeah, on your personal thing.
Well, it's not there. Oh, hang on, now it's coming through. I've got a photo to show you.
Yeah, it's not glamorous. So please focus on zooming in.
I'll zoom in. Oop. Okay, I've got to share screen. So before we went camping, we were actually camping out on the deck. And Jenny, did you see it too? Jenny and the kids both saw what looked like a gold bat, except that it was huge. It was not average bat size. It was 4 times the size of the bat. And it looked gold, fly straight overhead 2 or 3 times.
6 in total.
Oh, 6 in total. Okay, it was
over 2 nights.
Over 2 nights that it was spotted. And in one of the photographs of just taking a photograph of everyone sleeping out or sitting out on the deck, this is what was caught. Can you see this? Oop. So if I zoom out just a little, I think that's the moon up there, isn't it? In that corner. And there's that, which is not lights. There's nothing there that could be. But the more you zoom in. But to the naked eye as it flew over, it was gold. And it had a wingspan on it, like that at least.
Baby dragon.
A baby dragon. So yeah, there is stuff being seen. So, someone else had their hand up, but it's gone now. I don't know who it was. But you're unmuted again, John.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to add one more thing that after I saw the QHHT thing where she had mentioned the dreaming, I set the intent before bed that I wanted to dream of home, of course, that I wanted to, start that process and really get the ball rolling.
Oh, nice.
And what's interesting is that leading up to this, I've been having all of these dreams where I'm in my childhood bedroom and something's happening, and then whatever triggers me to wake up here, whenever I do wake up here, I'm very surprised that I'm here and kind of disappointed, but it felt so real. And I mean, I don't know if that's maybe my home, but I mean, it was literally my home, so maybe. But anyways, so last night I set the intention and I went to bed. And at some point I woke up in the middle of the night and, well, I didn't actually wake up. It was like I woke up in the dream that I was having. I just got hit by this energy blast that felt almost like if you've ever blacked out or passed out, that feeling of kind of being sucked out of the matrix where you almost feel like you're literally dissolving, and it almost feels magnetic and some weird, it was something like that. And in the dream, I thought that I was having a seizure or something along those lines because this energy was just so intense. And I felt like I was paralyzed. And while I was conscious in the dream, then I realized that I was sleeping, and I felt like all of a sudden I had sleep paralysis. So that kind of freaks me out a little bit. And then for whatever reason, I was just able to, boom, open my eyes, and I took a big breath, and it was like, oh, I'm back here. Like, okay, everything is fine. But I was still really surprised to be here as opposed to wherever I just was. And then for the rest of the night, it must have happened 1,000 more times by the time that I woke up. And what I consciously remember is that eventually I realized it was just like grounding in this energy, because there and here, it's just like turning the dial. It's not like a different place completely, so much as it's just the frequency of it.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that this woman said that was really interesting is that there were people who volunteered to literally be like radio antennas, because they had the IP address, I guess, that would receive the data that was coming through. These like energy waves of data, she was saying, if those people weren't here to receive it, it would just kind of float on by. And
So
that it was almost being magnetically pulled in.
Volunteers from home who come in here with the home code, so to speak.
Absolutely, yeah. Even though she made it seem a little bit more like ethereal and energetic, but I mean, it's poetically all the same thing, so.
Ultimately, yeah. Huh. Okay, thank you. JJ, you're on.
Yes. Let me go, Aaron. John's comment about the in the dream thing triggered something I read years back from Andrew Bartzis, as it may sound. He was talking about dream time and the significance, importance, and the utility, in a sense, of what dream time will become for us. And this was back 2013, 12, 14, somewhere back in there. So he was predicting basically that we would actively use our dream time as a means, method, or something to be able to help us make the transition a little more carefully, I suppose you might say. In other words, not just willy-nilly, but we get a chance to practice in dream time. And that the dream time will actually become as important, if not more so, to our waking time. And I'm kind of seeing that with some of your reports as well as others about the waking up and going, damn, why am I here? Mm-hmm. You know, I should be over there. That's home. That's the better place. But the dream time seems to be the kind of like we're in a zone for testing and learning and reacclimating and gaining a handle on ourselves, as well as, you know, all the other stuff that's going to be shifting and changing. And it seems like maybe dream time is an adjunct to that. Just a thought.
You know, we've been saying all year that we're not going there, it's coming here. And then Lulu actually did come through 2 days ago, I think it was, and said, we are coming to you. We are learning how to do this and sharing what we learn as we go. This has never happened before. So, we've all felt that like we're in completely uncharted territory, that we've never been here before for quite some time. I think to some extent everybody's winging it. Team Dark, us, home, everybody's winging it. And it's the intent and the choice that will, bring about the ultimate outcome, I guess. Something like that. If there are enough, but for the individual, if that makes sense too, because I think we're getting to the point where we're more and more in our own individual bubbles of reality. I think even Curtis and I were driving down the street yesterday, looking at everybody and seeing how everyone does feel like they are completely in their own little reality. Even people sitting at cafes supposedly talking to each other or having lunch together were just not. They weren't connecting. It wasn't that much connecting going on. It was off in their own thoughts, you know, in their own little bubble. But how this plays out for the collective, I don't know. It's still playing out, so I guess we'll see. Okay? Yeah, I just don't think there is any more of being this neutral observer shit. I think it's time to make choices and act on those choices. Decide what you want. A lot of the crap that's going on, I think, is to some extent, not all of it by any means, to some extent self-perpetuated because we're so used to, and we're still throwing those programs around, we're still so used to being treated certain ways or living a certain way and whatever, so we've got to let that shit go. If it does not align with the way we want to be and the way we want to live, it's all been about letting go of programs, recognising and releasing programs lately. For the last year, I guess. So in each and every moment, when something happens, if it's in agreement with or in alignment with what you want, acknowledge it. Yeah, this feels good. This is the way I want to live. This is how I want my reality to look. And when it doesn't, make a choice. No, this does not belong in my reality. I do not consent, whatever your words are. And it's like a filtering, refining process constantly at the moment. Saying yes or no. Yeah, I'll take that. No, I won't. A separation is approaching. The choice will be presented in a way it's already been presented every day. Yeah, and to the greater extent, I feel like we've already made a lot of the big choices for ourselves, and they're playing out. But it just feels like, I feel like flour being sifted or something. It's just getting finer and finer and finer. What else? I'm sorry, I'm just trying to catch up. Okay, Gino. I will unmute you. Okay, you're on.
Thank you. Apparently it didn't want me to raise my hand because it will not give me that option all of a sudden, although it was there earlier. Absolutely wouldn't give it to me. Okay. So in pertaining to what you were just speaking about, today Shar had to go in and get some things fixed on the car and get it checked in order to get the registration. It was like end of the month, had to do it. And go to the DMV and get the tags. Every year they have found reasons to end up being taking hours and hours. They find all these things that have to be fixed. It ends up costing a bundle. And then the tags, they find something else to go on there. Today, she'd been talking to her 3 dudes quite a bit the last couple of days, asking them for assistance with this to help the people that she had to deal with today. She went in and they got to it right away, and when they approached her, which wasn't that anywhere near as long as it normally is, later to let her know it was ready, she was expecting to hear, oh, we need to do this, this, and this. Instead they said, it's ready, come get it. It ended up costing her like $100, $100 and something. She was expecting to pay $400. Then she went to the DMV to get the tags and pay her property taxes, because you have to pay them in order to get the tags here. And again, she ended up paying just $4 over what the property taxes were, which wasn't much either, and getting the whole thing. No trouble. Not everyone around her, but some people around her were going through the 3D normal, oh, you don't have this paper and you didn't do that right, and we need to charge you for this and that. And they're all having that experience. And her experience through the whole process was she breezed through it with a minimum of financial impact on her. So she came home with this huge smile on her face. because of it. And it was just one more of those things that have been going that way. So I just thought I'd share that because it really does seem like, yeah, some people are still going through that, but if you can get in that place, it just goes. I'm losing words again. I'm sorry.
Hey, can you do me a favor?
Certainly.
Can you go jump on Shara and give her a big kiss and a big hug and tickle her to bits and say happy birthday from everybody here?
I will be happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
That is cool though. And when you say in that state, can you clarify it all for people? What you mean by that? Oh, I suppose you can't unmute yourself again if you muted yourself. Hang on.
Yes. Thank you. In that state, I mean, being in a state where you're not wringing your hands and agitated and worrying about what's going to happen, or thinking that, oh, it's always that way, so it's going to be this way now, but opening up in yourself that place for it will be different. It can be different. I can choose my experience to be different.
Yeah.
This is how I want to live. This is how I want to interact with everything, everybody, everything, every living, every piece of it. I'm going to interact in this way. And that's what you do. And there's no pushing or trying or forcing about it, yet it just flows beautifully in front of you.
You know, the word expectations has come up a lot lately.
Oh, yes. That's great that you said that, because that reminds me of, we had a visit from Sandy this weekend, for 3 days. And she left Sunday morning. And it was marvelous. It was a last minute thing, and we had a blast. But we talked a great deal about expectations, and we started watching ourselves. And I found, like, I was cooking another night where I was making Indian food, and it was late, and I knew everyone was hungry, but they were all fine. No one was waiting on me or anything, but I put myself in that place. But what I did is I gave myself a stomach ache, so that I had to go in the bathroom and sit down, and all I had to do was, like, I was there ready to say, hey, look, no one's tripping. Why are you all stressed out? Relax and do it right. Do it the way you want to do it, and it'll be fine. And so I went back, and that's what I did. And my stomach ache went away immediately, by the way. But yes, expectations, like those expectations that I put on myself in that moment made me physically ill. But I was able to turn it around in 30 seconds. So it's like we're that close to it. It's that automatic feedback loop. We can unravel it as quickly as we ravel it.
So how do you see that relating to having expectations that, I mean, there's a phrase, expect the best, right? So when I live in that space of expecting the best,
right,
I get the best, but I can't always stay there. So there's that side of expectation. Expect the world to be the way you want it to. Expect all of that.
Yes, expect it to be the best, but don't put qualifiers on it, I guess. And also expect yourself then, or behave in the way that it is all working out the best that it can. Behave in that way. Instead of pulling yourself into that place of, I know what's going to happen now, or, you know, oh, there goes my stomach. I'm going to be down with that all night. Or my back hurts. I'm not going to be able to do this or that.
Not having expectations based on past experience.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you. I know what you mean. JJ, you've got your hand up again?
Yes. That expectations and in that state, I've said before, smell the rose. It will flip you right out of that. It will realign your overall perspective. Just blink of an eye. It's amazing how effective it is. The trick is remembering to use it. I mean, that's always been the trick with me. It's like, but after you use it for a while, it kind of gets stuck in there, and so you don't have to use it quite as much because it's always on, or at least you know enough to go into that state. Because all you gotta do is think about smelling something like that. It's all it takes. Just a pleasant, inviting smell, and bink. So, just a trick.
Thank you. What do you call it? Flipping your amygdala?
Yeah, it's switching your amygdala, flipping your amygdala, any of those kinds of things. It's more a matter of just envisioning. It's like think of a light switch in both temples, and you just sort of envision them flipping forward. Is one way of doing it, or like you say, smell a rose. I mean, there's a number of triggers, but it flips you out of your reptile, fight or flight, like, oh my God, what about, and all of that worry wart kind of stuff, and into your creative self. And it's a lot more fun to be in your creative self, I found anyway.
Absolutely. I mean, those who are still experiencing chemtrails and stuff, I mean, do you expect to see them? And people out there, there are people out there who are still in that angry space and still focused on the fuckery and still focused on the them and the they and the what they're doing to us and coming from a disempowered place. And I almost get the vibe that they enjoy seeing chemtrails because it's the evidence. It's they're always looking for the evidence that they're being fucked with. So it's constantly chemtrails. Be interesting to see if those people could make that switch and expect blue skies. But that's
it.
Go on.
Oops.
Sorry, go on.
It's interesting because one of the attributes, or you almost call it a superpower, is my buzzword. When you flip your amygdala forward and you got both hemispheres going, you can focus that like a disruptor beam of sorts, and you can actually clear the sky. When you get used to it, when you focus and practice on it, if there's clouds, if there's stuff in the sky, you can clear it. You can go back to blue sky. And this has been proven over and over, and blah 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 blah. It's hard to believe until you experience it. But and I'm not entirely sure whether it'll work on chemtrails. But my guess is that it has the same effect as it does to regular clouds, which is it disperses them. It basically, getting into the physics of it, it basically makes them go thin, and so they just disperse. And the same thing can be done to all the crap they're throwing in the chemtrails. The thing is, you've got to trust yourself, and then learn how to sort of aim yourself or focus that coordinated and properly phased mental energy out, and whatever your intent is, and clear skies, give it 5 or 10 minutes and take a look, and you'll be amazed. I mean, and that's just one of the traits, but that's one of the more spectacular ones. Anyway, there it is.
Beautiful. I mean, if we are in play with it. If we are in a construct and we are in a feedback loop communication with this construct, and we are becoming and that communication is getting clearer and clearer and clearer, play with it. Practice, play, have fun with it, and just see what happens. I mean, You want blue skies? Create blue skies. You want whatever you want. Just have a play. And it might be that the success failure rate, you'll notice it, but hopefully it'll improve. A lot of what we did with the whole CI program, collective imagination program, from the get-go, was to really empower people to remember that they do have the power to create. And your imagination, or the visuals that you get, or whatever you want to call that, is just a representation of us programming, coding. That's how I see it. And if we created this construct originally, and it was designed for us, then we can code it. And I think the construct is listening, perhaps for the first time in a long time. Something like that. Or the what we're being programmed to program it with is reducing, is perhaps another way of saying it. JJ?
I should have unmuted or muted or something. Just slipped my mind. Never mind. Sorry.
It's okay. Well, if no one else does have their hand up, I think we're done for the day, unless there's anything anybody else wants to add. All I know is, for myself, this has been some of the most eventful few weeks of my life on so many levels. Good and, perceived bad, but it's all in a process of transparency. I think each of it is an opportunity to make a choice, see where my power lies, see where I can sit with it, see what I can. Oh, the captain's back. Awesome. Hey, Captain. Oh, yeah.
But
you're unmuted.
I understand exactly what you're saying, and I totally agree with it. But regarding chemtrails, a lot of you don't live on a little island. You live in wide open, vast areas of space, where in England there's a lot of airports and there's a lot of oil bases all very close together. So I totally agree with what you're saying, but it's very hard to do when you are so impacted by so many places in a small area. So you've got a lot of there's a collective aspect to this too. But I wasn't talking about people like you. I was talking about people who love to feel like they're being fucked with and are looking for the evidence of it all the time. Oh, right. Sorry. I do apologise. I was just playing the little islander. That's all. I'm on a little island and everyone else lives in fucking huge places.
Well, you're welcome anytime.
I know, sweetie.
You come over to a bigger island.
Well, I'm making my own island. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. So you're home and safe, obviously? Oh, hang on. He's muted himself. Now I've done muted.
Yes. I've actually just come home from work after being in work all day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I got home on Saturday. I'm still a bit dysfunctional at the moment. I'm not sure what that is, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah,
well,
you're not alone, I don't think.
Sorry?
You're not alone in that one.
Yeah. I've missed most of the show anyway, but I'll try and catch up tomorrow. I don't get home until midnight now. So my best time will be Thursday because I finish Thursday and then I'm available on that Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So there'll be some chatting done then.
Okay.
I hope
I look forward to it.
I hope everybody's okay, and I hope everybody's not as dysfunctional as they are feeling, and they will be feeling better soon. I do feel that. There's still a lot of shit going on, and we'll just move forward from here. Accept what's happening, move forward.
There's a lot of clearing going on.
Yeah. It's a bit of a tough one at the moment, but we'll get there.
Yeah, we will. All right, Dylan, thank you. And thank all of you. And see you next week. See how this all plays out and pans out. And what gets cleared and what gets revealed and who gets empowered and who gets disempowered and who makes choices and who doesn't, and see where we go. Bye for now.